Chairman, dear Saab enthusiasts. We are not allowed to be more than 100 persons in this small hall. Fortunately, I'm very bad at mathematics. But if something happens, this is the way out, and the way you came in is the way out, and hopefully nothing will happen, but it's definitely borderline. At the same time, fantastic that you're coming here and showing the Saab spirit at the festival. I'm overwhelmed. And but you don't want to listen to me. You want to listen to Einar Hareide, one of my former colleagues at Saab that has done so much for the Saab brand and the Saab design through the years. And there is no doubt that your heart is pounding for Saab still today, I suppose.
Absolutely. I got the wrong T-shirt, but it's a Norwegian brand, so I promise to leave the festivities with the Saab T-shirt.
We sort it on the way out. So over to you, and thank you for coming here and giving us a lecture about your time at Saab and other spin-offs for the future. Enjoy. This will be a classic.
Thank you, Peter. It's really a great honor to be here. I think last time I was standing on the stage here in Trollhättan. Ja? Kom längre fram då. Last time I was here, this is better, isn't it? I think it was during the launch of the 9.5 in 97, something like that. And it was in the other room, the big one, and we had this airplane going across the ceiling and then crashing into the wall in the end, going extremely exciting. And we were rehearsing so many things at that time. You know, we were how to talk. It was very important to present, and performance and safety were two very important words for Saab at that time. And we were taught to say performance and safety. So that ended up as a Saab dance, going performance and safety. Anyway, that's many years ago. Good, you're laughing a little bit. Wonderful. Again, it's a fantastic honor because when I came to Saab in '85, I was like 26 years old, and I felt all the years I've been sort of, it's like a cliche, but standing on the shoulder of giants. Because there were so many extremely talented people at Saab. And it's very easy to forget that because as a designer in the design department, you very easily get sort of on the front pages of magazines and so on. But in reality, it's teamwork and it's a lot of talented people responsible for it. The only reason I can find that maybe the people in the design department ended up in the front pages of magazines saw that we were so much more beautiful than the other people. But that's another story. Anyway, I had a possibility to be at Saab during this time here. I started in '85 and I went all the way through to '99. I had a little break when I was at Mercedes. So I had a possibility to work on the team creating these cars, and that was fantastic. I'm going to talk about design, a little bit about my background, why I started to study design, quite a bit about my period at Saab, a little bit about General Motors, a little bit about Mercedes, and then also I'm going to cover a bit about what I've been doing the last 20 years, running my own company as a designer, and what's that meant to me. So it's all sort of everything I've done has been sort of a spin-off from my time at Saab. Everything I learned at Saab here in this area, sort of giving me possibilities to do a lot of other things, and that's quite fantastic. So I call this Once Upon a Time. I'm born here. This is the west coast of Norway, and this is in fact the view from, almost the view from where I grew up. And it's an area with no car, very little cars. There's no car industry at all. It's all about the maritime business, making ships like this for the oil business. Originally, my plan was to become a maritime engineer, to design ships like this. But my knowledge in mathematics was quite, yeah. Did I flunk high school? Probably, maybe. But I was more interested in sketching, drawing, the creative part of it. And when I was like 7, I wanted to be an astronaut. My mom takes care of these pictures, so that's really good. She's my biggest fan. And a little bit later, I wanted to have my own boat with at least 170 horsepower. So I was sketching all these dreams. And I think that's very important to, as a designer, to always dream, think about the future. Maybe you should have a little bit of restlessness in you, try new things all the time. I think that's important. And of course, then I started to draw cars. I read all these magazines. This magazine called Tempo, with Dan Cooper and Mark Breton and these people. Fantastic sketches, and I like to do that. This was in '74. Growing up on this island on the north coast of Norway, west coast of Norway, there was not much talk about design or things like this. And at the local library, this is more of creating a story now, but it's this ad sort of caught my mind. It said, be a highly paid auto stylist. Learn at home. You can design cars like this. So this is really old. This is probably back from the 50s. What I really liked was this, no qualifications are needed. And that really said, this is perfect, this is for me. You know? So after high school, I went a year and studied what is called Tegning, Form and Farge, art. Doing a bit of sculpting, drawing, and things like this, and that was fantastic. After that, I went to Gothenburg, to the art school there to study industrial design. And this was around like 1980. And then I was in heaven. This was perfect. Monday mornings we were sitting drawing nude figures. Then someone, naked lady or naked man was standing there. We were drawing them with charcoal and things like this. Really learning about anatomy, but also learning to see. And I think that was fantastic. But then again, we had the car industry close to Gothenburg. And for me, that was extremely exotic. Growing up on the island, this island on west coast of Norway, and then suddenly being in the city with car industry, that was fantastic. So I dared to make a telephone call to Trollhättan. I think I talked to Erik Sørum and asked if they could be what is called mentor or veileder. What's that in English? Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I could have a project for them. So yes, absolutely. So I ended up making a model, a clay model. I got the package drawing. I think it was from the 9000, and then I made loads of sketches on the clay model. This is in fact from the dorm, my student room where I lived. So I was carrying this clay piece, you know, through the streets of Gothenburg, back to my flat every weekend, so I can continue to work on it. So, and that's a cool thing with design, because it's a lot, or car design, it's a lot about sculpture. It's not like designing typical household products. It's a lot about the sculpture, the artistic part of it. And to be able to do this, you have to have extremely good modelers. That's another skill, who can translate the idea of the designer into three-dimensional form. And that's a fantastic skill for those people who can do that and translate this in to know exactly how the shapes are going and so on. So now, of course, it's going more and more over to 3D. They're doing it in 3D, but still you need this clay model to do it. So this was my beginning. So I was sketching, this is back in '83, very inspired by Italian design, I guess. A bit more futuristic things. Wood wheels. This is what is called an inflect, thing to a heater for a car. And then I got to work in the company in Norway, summer work, to make cookers during summer. And it was only 2 people in the technical department, the head office. It was a little room with a fantastic view over Ørstafjorden. The company is called Trollhättan. So I was sitting in the middle on the table, and then there were an engineer and a marketing guy on the other side. And they both were chain smoking. So I was sitting there sketching and trying to make cookers. But this is great. How to think about ergonomics, how you can use the product, and so on. Very, very important. I also made models and prototypes and things of it by hand. During, again, this restlessness to try new things sort of was always there. And when I was studying design, I went to Philips for a period. Philips in Eindhoven. I got bored of school. And I called Philips and asked if there was possibility to have an internship. And they said yes. So off to the Netherlands. And there I was drawing television sets. They all had to be sketched in a special way. And it's all hand sketched. That's what we did. I still do. Special grey paper, quite rough, and then with some area where you could write on. And then the sketch with pastel and things like this. Also fantastic, great to learn communication. Absolutely wonderful. And then finally, I got work at Saab. That was absolutely, a big surprise for me. Both getting the job there, but also coming to Saab, because I had expected to come to a place with, what do you know about car companies? Very little. So I expected everybody walking around in white sort of laboratory frocks or whatever it's called, you know, looking very, very intelligent and things like this. But it was very close to the offshore industry. It was very close to working at the shipyard. Same thing, very down to earth, but extremely bright people. So, and very inventive. And I must say, from the first day I was at Saab, I got extreme freedom and trust. And I think that was one of the things that really impressed me, that there were so many possibilities to try things, to search for solutions, try different things and experiment. Not necessarily just doing the next facelift or the next generation of wheels or things like this. There were always time to do something different. I remember very well a thing. I wonder if I'm a bit out of sync with the pictures there. Just before summer, I can't exactly remember what year that was. It was in the early, maybe 86, something like that. Björn asked if you were interested in working during the summer, Björn Engvall, and make an extreme sports car together with Bernt Karlsson, which is was chief modeler at that time, and a couple of modelers. And of course I was, yeah, sure, fantastic. I'd just been working there for 1 year. So we started doing tape drawings of what could become sort of a super fun Saab. It looks like it's mid-engine, but I don't think it has. There's an original picture of me in the green sweater, long hair, making a tape drawing. Oh man. I was not quite sure if I'm going to show this picture, but this was a little bit sort of, I don't think it would be allowed to do these things now, because now the next coming picture, because now we're much more sort of respect for the other side of the camp or the other gender and things like this. You have to be more sort of proper. But at that time, you know, when you were going to car exhibitions and so on, you know, there were women everywhere. There were half-naked women lying on the hoods of the cars, you know, and things like this. It was quite everywhere at the car exhibition. So sort of cars and half-naked women. I think that was sort of, yeah, that's which is. So what we did, we had to have some presence of this in the studio, even though half of the studio were women. You know, it was 50-50, very important. I think sort of half. So we found some nice pictures, and then we enlarged them on the repro camera. That's what we had at that time. I think, you know, large. So we made these figures, tall women, and cut them out, put it on cardboard, and placed them around in the studio to sort of spice up the studio. So when I look at this, I'm thinking, you know,
something is missing in our archive.
These are some pictures you have never seen before. They have some Polaroids, which never been seen before. So, and this is quite cool, because this is one of the first projects I did, and it was in fact a 9.3 sedan, and it was actually made a full-scale glass fiber model out of it. I think this is probably the first time anyone is seeing it. I guess you've seen it better.
No, I haven't.
Here are some other pictures from the design studio. This is I think this was after I came back from Mercedes. We were working on the 9.3 and tweaking it. So you can see the original tape drawing in the background there, and you can see it's split. So it's two different models. I guess you guys are not seeing anything. I should hide it. Map here. Yeah, it's split here. Mm-hmm. So it's one model on this side and one model on this other side, and then it's covered with Dynoc. So we tried to pushing the limits a little bit, making the sculpture from the spoiler in the end go around the side of the car, you know, to sort of widen it. But it was difficult to do because of pressing at that time. But it was, we tried to also, to soften it a little bit and tweak it. But that's always how it is. Ja.
Sommar 90.
Var sommaren 90 utav där?
Ja, min första sommar där.
Var det det?
Jag hjälpte till med det på Fagen.
Är du med på bild här kanske?
Ja.
Vi får se. Jag tror inte på inte du är med på bild. För jag har en polaroid där, tror du med.
Okay.
Then of course, I mean, my boss at that time was Björn Envall, and he's a legend. And as all designers are and should be quite difficult to work with. I must say, when I was a new educated designer, I was probably a pain in the ass. I was probably very arrogant, and yeah. But I think you have to be that. You have to be able to do some fights, and you have to be able to sort of push things through. And Björn could be a total blast to work with. He had many strange ideas. And here's a picture. This is typical. You go to work early in the morning. Monday morning, you see something like this on your desk. This is one of Björn's sketches. Einar's hood, Tony's front end, Tony's reflex lines, Tony, Einar, rear, and so on. So you have to sort of understand this and make this into something like that. So that was a good laugh. This was from 91, I guess. Yeah. Is Björn here now? No. Sketching. And here is one of the sketches for what's going to become that car. This is a little bit sort of random now, I feel. And here is the clay model in the studio. There's another of these women.
That's it.
It's really embarrassing to look at now. But it was different times. And I don't think it was my idea. Probably someone else's. Oh, God. Good you laugh at least. Do you have this picture? Better. No. You can have it. The funny thing was that a little while after, Sune Envall, Björn's brother, published a car called Mayo, which looked pretty close to what we've been working on, but that's another story. So anyway, it was great working at Saab. I had a lot of possibilities, and then we were talking a little bit about this possibility of getting what is called sponsorship, either go to Royal College of Art or to Center for Creative Studies in Detroit. So I could sort of learn car design, because I was basically an industrial designer. And Björn said to me, we were talking about Royal College of Art and Detroit. And he said to me one day, he came up to me, if you're not afraid of black people, but you use the N-word, or getting shot, what about Detroit? Okay, this is back in the 80s, you know, so you talk like that. It was okay. And I said, fine, yeah, that's great, Detroit, that's the center of the automotive world. That's where everything comes from, with the big three. So, yeah, fantastic. So, in '86, I flew off to Detroit to study, and at the same time work at American Sunroof Company, which the company that developed the original 900 convertible, the mechanics and so on. So yeah, there it is, Woodward Avenue. That was where the school was. This is a little bit up the road, close to 8 Mile. But imagine coming to a country creating things like this. Wow, for me, fantastic. I loved it. And my company car was a Pontiac Bonneville from whatever, with a gear here. So I was sort of wobbling over the potholes. There were so many holes in the road, you know, I was going slalom. But listening to rock stations and blues stations on the radio, it was absolutely fantastic. And then going down to downtown Detroit to study at Center for Creative Studies, which was a really scary area with loads of violence where you really didn't want to leave your car. So I continued to sort of learn my sketching trade, try to see what could be done, how I could learn to sketch and be better and better, and also bring a little bit of the Nordic life into it. I think that was the Christmas card I sent home to my parents. You remember earlier I told about when I was studying design, and every Monday morning we were sketching these naked women, or men, whatever, to learn anatomy. The cool thing was that we did exactly the same thing in Detroit, but with cars. So they asked us to buy a big piece of paper called newsprint paper, charcoal, real artist material, and then we went to the Henry Ford Museum to sketch cars. So cool. Mm-hmm. So I have some of these sketches. They're like done, I don't think this is charcoal, I think this is just a really thick marker. But it was so good to really learn the anatomy of old cars and proportions and everything like this. Not bad, huh? Quite okay. Only a couple of minutes. Loved it. Then, of course, after that, we could do our own doodles. Also very big. Draw big, they said. So it was like, yeah, this size up on the wall. Not sit and draw like this. This would be big. And for me, this was fantastic. It was like the total opposite of studying industrial design in Gothenburg, which was very, very serious. And that's good, yeah? It should be serious. You should make things that works. But this was the totally opposite. It was, now we're going to have fun, okay? And you could get away with anything as long as you made a good picture. So all the designers there, they came out with fantastic illustrators. A few of them may be also good designers, but it was a very good sort of counterbalance to what we did. This is also in my flat. This is a full-scale side view interior of a Jeep Cherokee, based on a package. So it's a tape drawing. I put it up on the wall in my student room. Tape, and then the color is, pastel colors. And I take a knife and you make a little heap of the color, blue and maybe some red. And then I use petrol on cotton. Mix it and go. So I was thinking, high heavens, with petrol, and I was going on. Yeah. I probably fired a couple of what's it called, brain cells. But it was very important to learn to communicate in different ways, because design is about communication. First on the low level, when you should communicate your idea to other people, and then of course when the product is finished, it should also communicate the values of the brand, which I think Saab has been extremely good to do. In 1988, 89, after 3.5 years, I was sort of a bit frustrated. I felt nothing was happening. We were doing a lot of cool clay models, fiberglass models. Among others, we did the car which was called the bread van. I don't know if it exists in here. The big van. We had a full scale in glass fiber ones. Yeah. Fantastic car. And we were going, why get it off the market, make it. This is so perfect. Nothing happened. So, and month after month, almost year after year, nothing happened. No new cars. Sometimes I felt that maybe there's lacks some person on the top level, which is so extremely high paid, that he dares to say, yes, make it. Because if I get fired, it doesn't matter. I'm thinking rich anymore. Anyway, then I started to look around and I was thinking, where can I get work? I should move on. So I sent out a letter, like we did at that time, letters to a number of companies, and I was invited to interview at Renault in Paris, and then I got invited to interview at Mercedes. This is a part of the portfolio I brought to Mercedes, I think, in '88. And they offered me a job in Sittenfingen. Then I've been 3.5 years or so. That was great, fantastic. Off I went. Big party. The design department had a big party for me. They got me into sort of black sort of leather. So I looked like. Yeah, and then I had this leather hat, military leather hat with a big Mercedes star. And they got me insanely drunk, of course. I looked like a mess. And then they painted my car with huge Norwegian flags all over my car. So the day after I was going to Germany, Monday morning, it was like a complete mess, everything. So I had to dump that car, almost. But it was water-soluble paint, so through Denmark it started to rain, and it was okay. So then I went to Mercedes, and that was cool. Very different from Saab in many ways. Mercedes at that time was very sort of, nobody knew anything about the design department there. It was sort of secretive. And it was a city. Sittenfingen was a city. You started at Mercedes and you got buried at Mercedes, and everything was there for everyone. It was a society, and it was very interesting compared to Saab, who had sort of were paralyzed and didn't know what to do, which was my feeling at that time. Mercedes had this clockwork of cars that was coming out. Boom, boom, boom. It was no question about it. The new car is going to come there, bam, bam, bam. And in between, we got really cool sort of tasks about making maybe a super sports car, or making something that could be the A-class or something like that in between. But otherwise it was clockwork. And there were designers from all over the world in '89. So I was not the only foreigner. Anyway, what I was going to say was that in the foyer, when I entered the studio, it was this gullwing standing there. It was cream white with red interior. So I was walking past it every morning, sort of. I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. So, but then I was thinking, yeah, why? It's round lights on it. It's a part of the Mercedes heritage. Why can't we put round headlamps on a modern Mercedes? And at that time I was working on the code name W210, which was going to be the new E-Class. So I think this is one of the first blobs I did. This is the project book I had, where I indicated round lamps. That's the package. That time. Some more sketches. Never seen before. This is first in the world. Some sketches from this time. And other strange things also we did. So I was there about 2 years, something like that, and the final car was the E-Class. It was not finished when I left Mercedes, but the concept of the round headlamps, that's based on the first concept I did. So it was finished after I left, so I can't take credit for the whole thing, of course. This was in 90, I think, around there. Then I got a phone call from Stig-Göran Larsson, or I met him at the car show, I can't remember, and I was asked to come back to Saab. GM had bought half the company, and I was asked to come back to be in charge of the exterior design of the 95, together with Björn Envall. And yeah, I think this is what we felt at the time. The board came and took Saab away. And this was huge. I mean, General Motors was a huge organization, so we flew back and forth. I was over at GM a couple of times to sort of calm things down. Yeah, it was getting quite challenging after a while to do all these things. Because for us it was, you know, it was a totally different mindset. GM had, they were working with something we call sort of badge engineering. You just move the badge from one car to another car, you know. Camaro, Firebird, you know. Yeah, one is expensive, one is cheap, you know. They were doing these things, and very soon it was started, okay, we're going to start to carry over things from Opel to Saab. That's okay, if it's the petrol tank, no problem, who cares? Because soon, at its visible switchgear, like the switches for the window, things like this, then it gets spooky. And the press was after us. They were looking really scrutinizing everything to find what is going on now, what is going to happen. You know? But it's okay if you trickle down, if you go from a premium brand and trickle down to a lower brand, that's no problem. But trickle up, that's bad. And that's really what we were doing. We felt we were doing. And it was also discussions about making cars which me, the design department, felt this had nothing to do with Saab. You know? Why should we make a car with over 5 meters long with rear-wheel drive? What's the point? What's that? You should make a new Saab 90 or something like that instead. That's what we dreamt about making. So it was. So at the same time, you know, we were working a lot on the design strategy, what design was, what Saab was, the heritage, where it came from, try to get stronger in that way, you know, so that we could communicate that to GM and leave us alone on certain very, very important parts, you know. So you can see here, we use these examples here, like the Coca-Cola bottle. If you have a very, very strong brand, you take care of it, and you develop it gradually, you know. Same with this thing here. It's also developed gradually over time, but you respect it. And that was the same kind of thing we tried to do at Saab. Here is a picture from, I think this is from a meeting. I was really bored at Saab many years ago. Then I was figuring out how many different names you can make a little Saab sports car out of. But this is also design, doing these small sketches, everything, trying to communicate the most important lines. I think this was done for a journalist who asked me, what are the design cues from Saab, which is important to carry further. You have this swoosh line, the rounded windscreen, the concave rear end. This is sort of small things which you have in your vocabulary. So a lot of the work at that time was about doing these things, trying to tweak it. And it's extremely, you can see it very well between the 900 and the old, the first 900, the new 900, the almost new 900, where we kept some of the main areas. We did not keep the wraparound windscreen though. Maybe we should have fought more to keep that. I'm not quite sure why we ended up with that solution, if that was some Opelish stuff or it was a result of what internal thinking. But I think in aftersight maybe we should have kept it more like this. Yeah, and here it is, the woolly sweater working on the 900. Here is, are you here? No. I know I have a picture where you are. So this is around 90, then we're trying to do the last tweaks on the 900. And here it is out in the flesh. So you can see this area here we had to compromise on because we couldn't take it around the corner. That we got a little bit around. Good. And here, the picture of the proud group. It was photographed just at where was it photographed? The industrial area over at, not so far from the studio. What is it called? It always snowed white stuff from that factory in the 90s. Yeah, I think it was there, yeah. In fact, that was a sort of nice industrial background to get good contrast. Then after a while, Einar Nilsson and I got the responsibility to head up the design department. She on interior and I on exterior. Absolutely great period. Worked good as a team. After a while, she got an opportunity to go to Volvo Lastvagnar, and I ended up with the total responsibility of exterior design, interior design, and program. Not a big deal really, because there were so many good people in the studio, and I think my main job was sort of to inspire everybody, to give freedom under responsibility, and to be very, very clear on what the expectations of the brand is, and so everybody understands it, and do sketches on post-it notes, which I still do. So, and of course, take all the blame myself if people don't like it. So I tell you, the first years when I was in charge of exterior design, and suddenly we got rumors that the big white gods were flying over from America. They're going to land the private jet on Stallbacka, and we were going to present some cars for them. I was so nervous. I think I spent at least a couple of hours, or most of the time on the toilet before, honestly, yeah. But after a while, you sort of, you get used to it, and you then learn to keep a good face, and you learn the tricks, because it's a lot of tricks also. It was quite a dirty game, because sometimes we didn't get it like we wanted to, we had to do some dirty tricks. And I remember especially once, I was thinking I was going to make a sketch of it, but you know the 9.5 from the rear? The shut line of the deck goes like this and this, okay? Up until very, very late, it was going like this, like on a Mercedes. You know? I thought, this is wrong. We can't do it. There is something which isn't right. And we were going to have a presentation, and I remember, I think it was Peter Möller at that time, he said, no more changes now, no more changes, we can't do it, now we just have to go on. Sure. But I was thinking, okay, I need help from the higher gods. And I knew a better solution. So I took a piece of this cardboard, a paper, exactly the same color as the car, and then I taped the black line on it, vertical line like this. And then I put it on the roof of the car. And then I was presenting it, and I said, there was I think Keith Butler Wheelhouse was there, Sigurd and Peter, was he there, maybe? Yeah. It's 30 years ago, I can't remember everything. And I was saying, yeah, here you can see the rear end, and its shut line goes like this, you know, I think it looks a little bit like a Mercedes. And I go, yeah, maybe it does, yeah, you're right. So I think maybe we should, and then I took this piece of paper and I put it there, and then you got the lines like this, very little. And then we're going, oh yeah, this looks much better. So really, so quite fun. So it became like that. So I think that was a little bit of the sort of the duties of being a chief designer, design director. You have to play the game. You have to stand like this in the jacket and point to cars. And here's a picture of Tony Catignani and me. Tony did the theme model for what was going to become the new 9.5. This one. What was fun was that this was seen as the more extreme model. It was really, and it was the backup alternative. And then we had another alternative, which is sort of it was okay, but it was more traditional. And we had decided we had to persuade the management to go for this model here, even though it would be much more difficult because it had a wrap over hood, which we felt was very, very Saab. It had a rather turned around windscreen, and it had really good proportions. And so we made, of course, a good presentation about it, and they chose that. So that was really good. They were willing to go for the more advanced one. But then again, we inherited something from GM called Clinics, which is absolutely horrendous. Clinics is a place where, in the car business, typically GM, where you show the future to owners of Saabs, owners of competitors' brands, or aspiring Saab owners. You show them sketches of the rear end, the front end, the grid, the lamps, like this. And then you invite people who are very fond of getting free sandwiches. That's the main thing. Who's interested in free sandwiches? Okay, come in. You can decide what Saab is going to look at in the future. And then they came in, and they're crossing up like this. Absolutely ridiculous. Because we like the front end of Model B, and we like the lamp on Model C. What's this? Absolutely ridiculous. Not a way to work with product development. Because if you work with product development, you have a plan, you know what you're going to be. You have a long-term plan, and you know what the competitors are doing, and you use that but then you know where you're going. It's like sailing a boat. The competitors is the wind blowing a little bit like this, and then you counteract, and we're going there. So, more interesting to work with different sort of competences. I think that's so cool. And that's sort of, the design department is a little bit like the spider in the web, because we have to take in information from all the different departments. It can be engineering, marketing, production, paint, everything. And then we sort of balance all these things, you know. And sometimes when you have a really good compromise, it ends up better than the original plan. I think that happens a few times, and that's really good. One time it happened, which I remember very good, was that together with Håkan Danielsson, which was head of aerodynamics at Saab, we went to the wind tunnel in Rosselheim, and we brought with us clay models of the 93 or 95, maybe both, to the wind tunnel and tested them. And we were quite happy with the models, you know, we like them, this is good, this is how it's going to look like. And then we got the results, and this is bad. Okay, then we have to start to work, especially on the rear end. And we started to taper the rear end in like this, doing like this, which we thought, oh no, you're destroying the car, But then, it's quite good. That's cool, yeah. I think that's so cool. So then you have really good cooperation. Then we're all after the same goal. It's not like engineers against designers or anything like this. We have a common goal which we try to follow. And yeah, what's the time now? 13:15. Okay, 45 minutes I talked. You're all tired?
No.
A little bit more? Okay, this is in the end then. The launch of the 95. This is the design department. I mean, really fond memories of this period. Right after this, I think I left. I handed in my notice. The reason, 2 words, GM. And yes, GM fucked Saab. Okay? They did. And I remember very clearly one of the last things I was involved in. I was in Detroit together with some of the wisest brains at Saab. I can't remember all of them. I remember Stigiana was there. And we were sitting in the conference room underground, eating free donuts, and trying to make a Saab SUV out of GM parts. Cadillac Escalade maybe, I don't know. Oh, we can use the Cadillac hood, we can use the doors, we can use the windscreen, we can use the blah, 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 blah. I was thinking, what's going on? This is sick. We are trying to fool, we are losing it. So then I decided to, I've been there, done that, now I have to leave before it's too late. I was at that time I was thinking that I have 3 options. One option is probably I might get fired, because they were looking at scapegoats all the time, looking at people to fire, and after me, people above me got fired. Absolutely. And I was thinking, okay, I can be on the line soon. So then I was thinking, the other thing could be that I get enormous excitement and enthusiasm and manage to stay. And what's the alternative? What can happen then? Yeah, maybe I get transferred to GM, Cadillac, maybe I become design director at something there. I was thinking, nah, not really, no. I didn't want to do that. So then I had only one option. It was really to just start my own company. Because I wanted to keep some really good memories from this place. And as I told Peter that, especially this place, I have extremely fond memories of this place. Because when I was really worked up and stressed, then I went here. Then I went and talked to Peter, and I had this as my sanctuary. Then I looked at the past, I smelled the oil, you know, and I sort of got down, I got grounded again. Then of course, lifetime is, I had to go on, so I started my own company. This is the first office we had in Norway, doing all sorts of stuff. Everything from household knives to ovens, to switch gears, the chairs for handicapped. We continued to work for the car business, and not for Saab, but for Volvo. So we did a lot of rims for Volvo, and we had also mainly the preferred supplier to Volvo for a while, and we had a lot of designers at Volvo. Volvo had a tendency to hire the designers we rented to them, so it was a very difficult business case for us. So yeah, it was fun though for a while, and of course a lot for the maritime business. And that's quite cool. It's about a lot about identity. We're working for Rolls-Royce and Kongsberg, and it has to be a lot of identity, and also how we control the ships and so on. This is from the studio in Gothenburg we have together with Gesa. So, I don't know, this is really what design is in many ways. It's about creating something that creates a wow feeling when you look at it. It can be the sonnet, it can be anything. You go, oh, this is cool. Then the next thing is that you have to you're going to look close to it, you start to look at the details, the quality, and then in the end, you drive off with it. So all these phases, you have to sort of feel that you're really delivering what you promised. And I think that's really, really cool, and that's very much what Saab is. Presently I'm still working as a designer with my company. It's only me now. I'm taking certain projects which I find interesting, but I'm hired full-time as a senior research scientist at Sintef. It's a big organization in Norway where I'm working on the circular economy regarding products. Okay? And that's about how can industrial design make sure that products stay long as possible in the loop, which is probably one of the most important challenges we have. And that's why it's so cool to be here, because this is such a good example of the circular economy, isn't it? You're really taking care of your old Saab cars and keeping them running forever, and I think that's really, really good. So Peter, with this I think I end my story.
So an applause for Einar Hareide. I really miss you in the evenings. Museum.
Thank you.
Sorry.
The same.
And but if you run into trouble or inspiration in your own company, I want you to know I'm still working late nights here. So
wonderful.
That's not a problem.
I'll give you a call. Fantastic.
That's a small thank you from us that you have taken your time coming here. I think definitely that the most important business decisions about Saab has been taken with the help of a cup of coffee, of course.
Oh, fantastic.
And this is in our own, I would say, design program at the moment. We have at the Saab Car Museum. We're working with, I would say, the Saab things, and the turbo gauge is definitely something that's extra. And you need to combine it with the black coffee that is really wakes you up in the morning. And also a book for you, the Automotor Sport version about how General Motors fucked up Saab. You are present in it. And but the most of the stuff is really good. And I'm so glad to say that maybe you left at the right time and you have the fond memories of Saab.
Yeah, very good memories.
And especially sharing them with us today, because this is a unique insight in your career and the thinking within Saab, and also later, unfortunately, General Motors. So now it's time for the most time-consuming part of this is questions and answers. Put them out to the wall. So I have a microphone here. So somebody that would like to say something. Tim?
I saw a video of you when